Tonight, staff at a grocery store are reeling after a customer refuses to wear a mask and winds up dead at the hands of police.
It was very challenging today. They're the heroes. I'm going to get emotional. They deserve the credit.
We'll take you to Haliburton for the latest on the police watchdog investigation into the fatal incident.
There will probably be a lot of smiling, probably some laughter, probably some tears.
Loosening COVID-19 restrictions, what you can now do at Ontario long-term care homes. And no one wants a surprise visit from this guy, the Toronto family slithering into the newscast after a close contact that might give you chills. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. We begin tonight in Haliburton, where police shot and killed a 73-year-old man today. The fatal altercation came after the man had refused to wear a mask in a grocery store, assaulted an employee, and then drove off. Now the police watchdog is investigating. Talia Ricci kicks off our coverage tonight.
The dispute started here at this Value Mart in Minden, Ontario.
They're a little bit scared and really shaken up because of what happened.
An elderly employee was sanitizing the shopping carts and offering masks to shoppers when the 73-year-old customer allegedly refused a mask, then assaulted the worker. He then fled in his vehicle, causing damage in the parking lot.
Police attempted to stop that vehicle, the suspect vehicle, and had to discontinue in the interest of public safety.
It ended about half an hour away outside what's believed to be the man's home. Ontario's Special Investigations Unit says 2 officers opened fire.
And ultimately, a 73-year-old male was transported to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced deceased.
Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Drop the gun! Drop the weapon!
It's not the first time an apparent dispute over a mask has ended in violence. Yesterday in Michigan, an officer shot and killed a man accused of stabbing someone after he was confronted for not wearing a mask. At the Value Mart, employees say no one was seriously injured, but they're questioning whether they should be responsible for enforcing face coverings.
If we didn't have to force him and remove him, not remove him, but tell him that he couldn't come into the store, nothing would have happened really, right? He would have got his groceries and went along with his day.
That was very challenging today, and they're the heroes. I'm going to get emotional. They deserve the credit. That's all I want to say.
The SIU is asking anyone with information or video of the incident to contact them. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Haliburton, Ontario.
Now to Mississauga, and Pelle police have issued a summons for a 48-year-old man in connection with a racist anti-mask incident that occurred at a supermarket.
Go back to China where you came from and take your coronavirus back to Wuhan. I'm a Canadian. Yes, Canadians like butts. I'm Canadian.
This video from July 5th shows a man at a Mississauga T&T supermarket who refused to wear a mask, saying he has asthma. When workers try to remove him from the store, the man starts yelling racist remarks towards the employees. Police said they are investigating the incident as hate-motivated and have identified a suspect. Mississauga resident John McCash is asked to turn himself in for the offense of causing a disturbance. And a 30-year-old man is dead tonight after he was struck and killed on the 401 this afternoon. It happened in the eastbound collector lanes approaching Weston Road just after 5 this evening. The OPP tell us the man got out of his vehicle while it was being hitched to a tow truck when he may have tripped and fell into traffic, where he was struck by a cement truck. He was pronounced dead on scene. The eastbound collector lanes were blocked for several hours while police reconstructed the scene. Next up, important changes to tell you about at Ontario long-term care homes. The province is loosening restrictions to make it easier to visit loved ones. It comes as new daily COVID-19 cases drop to the lowest level since late March. Pelle now with some relieved relatives.
This cell phone video shows the last time Innes Ingram saw his mother, Catherine Robertson. Instead, this is now the norm, talking by phone and waving through a window.
The phone conversations are no replacement for actually being able to physically sit in the same room with her.
For months, Ingram has worried his terminally ill mother would catch COVID-19, much like 68 other residents who died during an outbreak at this Mississauga home. The fear, he says, was about not getting the chance to say goodbye.
Some residents have passed just simply from old age without having been able to see their families again, which is tragic.
I know that this has been incredibly difficult for many.
Today, provincial officials gave the green light for in-person visits.
We recognize the importance that friends and family members have in the well-being of the residents of long-term care.
The policy change means outdoor visits are allowed starting now. Visitors won't need a COVID-19 test to see their loved ones, but you will need to wear a basic face mask. Indoor visits can start next Wednesday, July 22nd. To go inside, you'll need to verbally confirm you've had a negative COVID-19 test in the last 2 weeks and wear a surgical mask. In both cases, up to 2 people can visit at a time.
And you're seeing the province prioritizing opening bars and restaurants over dealing with our most vulnerable populations. I mean, that to me is just a total moral failure of our government at every level.
This Toronto physician says the visits are starting up far too late.
I have heard of stories of residents that no longer recognize their family members because of the length of time that has been elapsed.
That's no issue for Ingram and his mom. Now he's just ready to plan some time together for the first time in months.
There will probably be a lot of smiling, probably some laughter, probably some tears.
Now, if you have family members in another type of care home, a retirement home, or a group home, the province is looking to make sure you can see those loved ones as well within the next week. There will, however, be policies in place, as we've seen with long-term care. There will be screening policies, and you'll have to wear a mask. Lauren Pelle, CBC News, Toronto.
The province also announced today it'll try and make long-term care homes more livable and more of them.
When it comes to long-term care, it can't be business as usual. We need action, and we need it now.
Air conditioning will be mandatory at new or renovated facilities. The province also re-announced nearly $2 billion in funding to create 8,000 new beds and renovate 12,000 existing beds. The government originally pledged that money back in September. The Toronto District School Board has crunched the numbers on how much it'll cost to reopen schools in September amid the pandemic. The province's largest board says what it's been given and what it needs don't add up. Mike Crawley has the classroom controversy.
In mid-July, returning to school is typically far from anyone's mind. But this is no typical summer. To lessen the risk from COVID-19, Ontario school boards are preparing for every scenario.
We'll work closely and with our school board to ensure we get this right, because when it comes to our kids, we'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe.
So what will it take to keep kids safe? To reduce transmission of the virus and create physical distancing in normally packed classrooms?
One of the things about full-time, 5-day-a-week is that it would require additional resources. It will require more space.
The province's largest school board is now putting some price tags to that. One proposal from the TDSB would put elementary students in cohorts of 15. The board says that would mean hiring as many as 2,500 extra teachers at a cost of nearly $250 million.
The TDSB certainly doesn't have a tenth of that, lying around to be able to pay for that. So we would need provincial help with something of that magnitude.
For secondary students, the school year would be divided in 4 parts, so students would take only 2 courses at once.
It really is critical that we get provincial support through additional funding for this. The fact is, school boards are not budgeted with a pandemic in mind.
Will the province commit to more money? The Premier isn't saying.
Our goal as a government is to have kids in the classroom 5 days a week.
That's got the opposition parties hammering the government.
Hire more teachers for smaller classes, more custodians to do the cleaning and maintenance that are essential for infection control.
They're not going to be able to do that unless the Premier gives them the resources and the investments that they need.
The government is not willing to put the money on the table that's needed to safely, and I emphasize the word safely, reopen our schools full time in the fall.
We won't know what the return to class will look like in any Ontario school board until mid-August. The decisions will depend on what's happening with local spread of COVID-19 at the time. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Today, the family of Regis Chintzkey Paquette announced a public memorial for her July 25th. She's the 29-year-old woman who fell from the balcony of her High Park home.
She had a big spirit, and she was the nucleus of our family. I just want to tell my daughter I love her very much. And we'll never stop fighting for you till the day I die.
In late May, her family called police after a dispute, and officers were in the apartment when Chintzkey Paquette fell. The case is under review by the province's police watchdog, and today the family's lawyer said the Special Investigations Unit has finished interviewing relevant family members. Their legal team has also brought in a former SIU director.
Our investigation leads us to believe that there is a sound basis for criminal liability on those officers that burst into the apartment. In terms of which particular criminal offense, if you take a look at the criminal code, you'll see whenever there's a death, that you have a small range of criminal offenses, and presumably those are the ones that the current director, Mr. Martino, is looking at once he has all of the evidence resulting from his investigation.
A second autopsy is being performed on her body, and the results are expected next week. The SIU says it'll likely have an update on the investigation tomorrow. Now to the story of a Black-owned diner on King Street that has been forced to close. The chef and part owner says it's not just COVID-19 that's to blame, but systemic racism as well. Lorenda Redekop has their story.
True Diner only opened its doors last fall, now permanently closed.
It's still really hard.
In an Instagram post, Suzanne Barr wrote that during the pandemic struggles, our white privileged partners got a big slice of that handout pie and didn't even think to offer us a bite, and said our small businesses are no match for the toxic and biased systemic structures. She didn't want to give many details about what happened.
Listen, I don't have a lot of money. So the fear of being able to be threatened with liability and slander and defamation, that's definitely something to think about.
We're coming from that same space of love and compassion.
At her diner, Black history always went hand in hand with the food. A documentary about the restaurant is still in progress. Another Black-owned restaurant in Etobicoke posted that it was also forced to close, telling CBC the landlord didn't want to apply for federal grant money and they had little advance notice to get out. One Black Business Association says these struggles are common, and it's not only restaurants.
The challenge, though, is the access to capital. Just not enough reserves to carry a Black business.
And she believes systemic issues are at play.
It's the proverbial knee on our neck. It may not be in the street like that, but it is in the corporate sector, it is in the bank, it is in society where we're denied opportunity because of race.
She is hopeful, though, and earlier today was part of a roundtable with the federal procurement minister. It confirms it wants to improve access and awareness in bids for government contracts. Suzanne Barr says she wanted to raise the issue with her restaurant because she knows others have similar struggles.
Deep wounds live and rest within people of color, and I think we need people to understand that you keep on pushing us down, but we keep getting back up and we won't stop.
She says for now, she'll take some time to figure out what to do next. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to a CBC News exclusive. 5 Toronto police officers have been suspended with pay as investigators probe their possible ties to corruption in the towing industry. John Lancaster has details you won't see anywhere else.
The 5 Toronto police officers were suspended with pay last month. As it stands, none have been charged criminally or under the Police Services Act.
Senior officers expect to...
Toronto police spokesperson Megan Gray.
Professional Standards has suspended several officers in relation to this investigation. No charges have been laid, but they will continue to do the work that they've been doing, and if criminal charges are laid, then we will provide an update at that time.
The 5 were suspended around the same time last month as Toronto police announced here at headquarters that they'd arrested one of their own, 47-year-old police constable Ronald Joseph of 22 Division, an 11-year veteran of the service. Police allege Joseph stole a police radio, which landed in the hands of a tow truck driver who used it to monitor car accidents. Police claim Joseph also owned 2 tow trucks and a car rental business.
The officer would receive monetary compensation for the tow trucks. He would receive kickbacks for the tips he provided, and he would receive referrals to his car rental agency.
We've learned that internal investigators are poring over phone records, computers, and other evidence they seized during 11 search warrants they executed in relation to the Joseph investigation. Investigators are now trying to determine what, if any, links to corruption these 5 suspended officers may have. John Lancaster, CBC News, Toronto.
Me and my daughter, we were just literally here, just kind of like looking around, and I decided to walk right here, and then it was right beside me.
Oh gosh, still ahead tonight. What would you do if you came across this guy while out for a walk? We'll speak to the Toronto woman who came face to face with this 5-foot snake. Plus,
thunder showers tomorrow, humidex above 40 by the weekend. Lots to talk about in your full forecast after the break.
the Hockey Hall of Fame reopened today, and the first guests got quite the surprise, the Stanley Cup itself. The guests were from Quebec and also received a lifetime pass to the hall. A local printing business is gearing up to help during the pandemic by producing reusable and washable face masks for the city of Toronto.
When we decided to supply the masks to our employees, we put out a general call to companies that might be interested in producing those masks for us. And of course, as always, we were looking for good value and good quality work, but we were also very anxious to see if there were companies in Toronto that could respond and could get the work, and it could help to keep them going during a difficult time. And Spin Inc. responded to that.
Spin Inc. Screen Printing is producing 150,000 navy blue face masks for the city of Toronto and their employees, and will be donating 15,000 of those masks to frontline workers. Seems like we found a pocket of beautiful weather in the GTA today, but the sunny skies and manageable temperatures are not set to last. Let's bring Nick Cernkovich in now. Nick, what is coming our way?
Chris, some thunder showers tomorrow, but then the humidity and the heat are going to be the stories we head into the weekend. Let's take a look at your weather headlines. Again, a bit of a stormy Thursday for us, but that temperature is rising. The humidity is rising as well. And by the weekend, the humidex is going to be up over 40 once again. I think we'll see some heat warnings in effect across the region. Today, temperatures hitting 28 degrees. That's basically spot on seasonal, with the humidex feeling like about 33. Now the temperature is going to stay the same tomorrow, but the humidity will continue to rise as this system approaches. So look for increasing cloud cover through the overnight period. And then as we head through the morning hours, a few spotty showers and then heavier amounts of rain and thunderstorms by the time we hit the afternoon. Different models are sort of picking up on different things, but I do think we're going to see some good shots of rainfall tomorrow just because we've got all that humidity in place, and that's going to be the fuel for some of these thunderstorms. As we head through Friday morning, we're looking at cloud cover clearing out, and by Friday afternoon, we've got sunshine, and sunshine carries us into the weekend as well. Now, how much rain can we expect with this? This is a broad look at what you can expect, but generally we're looking at about 10 to 20 millimeters of rain. You'll notice that there's some spots that don't show it, but generally speaking, that's what we're expecting. It's about 10 to 20 millimeters of rain, but it will be localized in terms of some of these amounts. For southwestern Ontario, especially down around the Windsor area, expect the rain showers to move in late overnight, early morning hours. Lows to 22 degrees for tomorrow, and then as we head through tomorrow afternoon, highs of 28 and 29 degrees. Showers and thunderstorms sweeping across the region. And generally speaking, your sort of garden variety thunderstorms, although again, because of that heat and humidity, locally heavy downpours and strong winds, definitely not out of the question. Humidex tomorrow of 38. Golden Horseshoe starts a little bit later in the day, so for tonight we're looking at just some cloud cover, especially through the later overnight period. Overnight lows of 20 degrees, and then as we head through tomorrow, look for highs of 28 degrees, humidex values now of 35, so it's a little bit more humid than what we had today. And then it gets hotter. So Thursday, again, about 10 to 20 millimeters of rain in general. Friday, high of 31. That comes with sunshine, humidex of 38, humidex in the 40s by the weekend. And we're looking at a few showers and likely some thunderstorms as we head into Sunday afternoon.
Okay, thanks, Nick. And we are taking a quick break. Back in a flash.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Finally for us tonight, you might have to shed a phobia to watch this last one. A Toronto family recently got quite the shock while out for a hike. Here now is Greg Ross.
It was supposed to be a leisurely walk with her 4-year-old daughter, but Stephanie Chanka says it turned ugly fast.
It was like, I gotta grab my daughter and get the hell out of here.
That was Chanka's reaction after coming face to face with this snake while walking along Don Valley Drive, a residential street not far from the Danforth. She says the snake was about 5 feet long and 2 inches thick.
Me and my daughter, we were just literally here, just kind of like looking around, and I decided to walk right here, and then it was right beside me.
It came as a bit of a surprise to people who live here.
I haven't seen any snake.
And there was no trace of the snake here today, but fortunately Chanka snapped a few quick pics before making her escape.
I just took a picture because I was like, nobody's gonna believe me.
Turns out that snake she found was a corn snake, kind of like this one, and it's harmless.
Paul Collier, who owns Earth Echoes Reptile Center on Bloor Street, was able to identify it for us from the pictures.
Corn snake come in a lot of different colors. They're sort of specifically bred just for different colors.
He says they're one of the most popular snakes sold as pets.
I sell 100 a year, easy.
He says it's very likely the snake Chanka came across was also someone's pet that somehow got away.
I mean, they're kind of escape artists. I mean, if someone leaves a terrarium open or something like that, you know, that can very well happen.
Collier says corn snakes typically come from the southern U.S., and it's likely this snake won't be able to survive a Canadian winter. He says Chanka could have taken it home and kept it as a pet for her daughter.
I have fish. I'm good.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
I'd be leaving the snake behind myself. And that is our show for tonight. I'll be back here tomorrow at 11. We'll see you then. But in the meantime, we want to leave you with a shot of the CN Tower, which reopened to the public today after being closed due to the pandemic. And it is going to be open from 10 to 8 every day. The Edge Walk, though, that is going to be taking bookings starting in August. Have a good night.